Basky. Welcome to the Town and Love Basketball and Hockey Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Hess, and with me, as always, he's covered in brooms. There's brooms everywhere. He's got brooms on his left, brooms on his right. It's Mike Regan. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Mike's churning butter. If you're not watching the video
No,
podcast,
I was sweeping James Harden and those Cavs away because my Knicks are in the NBA championship, NBA Finals for the first time in 27 years.
It's been so long since you've had a team in a championship position that you couldn't even figure out the correct words for it.
Yeah,
you almost said Eastern Conference Finals to start with.
Weird, last round thing. I don't know what it's called. The Super Championship.
They play for something. I didn't know there was a goal at the end of this. I thought we just played games until your team got eliminated.
Yeah, I thought that was it. But we're in it. We're gonna beat whether it's Spurs or the Thunder. I feel confident we can take them with the way we're playing right now. So. And
the fact that every player on the Thunder is dropping dead, and apparently Victor Wembanyama, you can just beat him by making him run a lot.
Yeah.
I, as a Boston Bruins fan, understand championship pedigree, so I do understand the feeling of getting there. I don't understand what it's like to feel nervous about it. I feel, just in my history of watching the Bruins, I feel like every time they make the Stanley Cup Finals, I don't think I've ever felt nervous about it. I just feel confident they're going to win.
Oh, yeah? So you were around for all those finals?
Uh-huh. And, the only one that still stings is the Blues, who
Adam, what
fired
position
their
did
coach.
What position did Tim Thomas play?
He plays power forward.
Won a Stanley Cup?
And the Knicks fouled him last year on a corner three-pointer attempt, and it didn't get called.
No, Tim Thomas was the Boston Bruins goalie, won a Stanley Cup with him. Yeah.
I mean, I knew that, but you said Tim Hardaway.
I said Tim Thomas. You heard Tim Hardaway.
I heard Tim Hardaway, whatever you said. But, Mike, we are not a Tim Thomas podcast. We are not a Bobby Orr podcast. We are not I couldn't think of anyone older than Bobby Orr. Give me an older player than Bobby Orr, Mike. Gordie Howe. We are not a Gordie Howe podcast. Who played for the Red Wings, I know, but I couldn't think of any really old players.
Yeah.
We are, in fact, a general hockey podcast. We talk about all things hockey, not just the long-term success of an original six team, something Mike would not understand, but I would as a Bruins fan. Mike, the NHL playoffs are in full swing, but we have important information to talk about with things that aren't the NHL playoffs. And that's that the Pittsburgh Penguins gave Evgeni Malkin a 1-year, $5.5 million extension, lining him up with the last year of Sid Crosby's deal. Mike, give me your instant reaction to this.
Makes sense. The numbers not crazy. Carries no long-term cap impact. He's 39. He's made it very clear all year he wanted to come back. Coincides, like you said, with the last year of Sid's contract. So it wouldn't be crazy if Sid called it a career next year. We'll have to wait and see if he announces that or what. But yeah, makes complete sense. I mean,
who has a bigger impact on Pittsburgh with their Last Dance season? Sidney Crosby or Aaron Rodgers, who already announced this is going to be his Last Dance season? Who do you think Pittsburgh cares about more in their Last Dance season?
Probably Sidney Crosby because he still plays very well.
You think? Hey, how dare you? Aaron Rodgers played better than Bryce Young.
Yeah. High bar you set there, Adam.
Oh, short jokes. We're getting into short jokes right away. Mike, this lines Evgeni Malkin up with the end of Sidney Crosby's deal, who will be making $8.7 million next year. It also lines it up with the end of your favorite player, Erik Karlsson's deal, who will be making, I'm reading here, $10 million next year.
And if you're Kyle Dubas, you're not re-signing Erik Karlsson, if he's smart. And you're probably not re-signing Evgeni Malkin unless Crosby's going to re-sign and he says, I'm only re-signing if you re-sign Malkin. That'd probably be the one big thing. I imagine that's a big thing in Malkin's corner because they've played together their whole careers. They've won cups. Is that Crosby wants him there, and he's still a good player. So why not?
Can I tell you my favorite part of this whole thing?
What?
Malkin, Crosby, and Erik Karlsson all have their contracts ending next year. However, there is 2 years left on 39-year-old Chris Letang. I just like the idea of after all of this,
Damn.
it's just Chris Letang left on the battlefield completely alone, playing with like fucking Brian Rust and Ricard Raquel for
I feel like
45 games.
I feel like if Crosby and Malkin call it a career, then even though he has 1 year left, Letang should call it a career. Like that whole core should just be like, all right, we're out. Should do it together.
I think so. I don't know what they're going to do in goal next year because they currently have 0 goalies signed, but that's a problem for a different day. We're not here to break down the whole Pittsburgh Penguins offseason. I will say, Evgeni Malkin, arguably, played better than Sidney Crosby last year, had a higher expected goals and a higher goal percentage. So,
there you go.
Maybe the greatest of all Pittsburghs should be handed out to Evgeni Malkin instead. Just saying. Maybe Sidney Crosby overrated Sidney Crosby?
I also think the re-signing of Malkin also shows that they're like, hey, we're going for it again this year, or next year. Sorry, we're gonna make some moves and we want to contend for at least 1 more year.
It feels like
if they let making changes,
if they let Malkin walk, it was such a half major because we know they're not gonna trade Sidney Crosby. Like Crosby's gonna start in his career there. If that's what Crosby wants, that's what's gonna happen. And so if they let Evgeni Malkin walk, it was such a half major because they weren't gonna be bad enough to have a real shot at a top prospect, but they weren't gonna be good enough to make the playoffs. So keeping Malkin around, it's like, all right, at least you guys will get to like 96 points and have a shot at the wild card.
Yeah, and it's the only way they would trade Crosby that I don't think there's, I realistically don't think there's any chance, but the only way there might be a slight chance is if like they get close to the trade deadline next year and they're just like in the basement and Crosby's like, hey, I might be calling it a career, and Pittsburgh's like, okay, well, if you want, we'll send you to a contender to give you a chance to win, 1 more cup, and we'll probably get like a solid return from it as we enter into like a new era and try to rebuild. That's the only way I could see that happening. Even with saying that, I think it's like, even if that's the situation, I still put a very low percentage on Crosby actually getting moved.
I would put it at a very low percentage of Crosby getting moved. Even if they're in the basement, I think that at this point, probably Crosby and all those involved would say, you know what? Let's just ride it out. Let's ride to the sunset.
I mean, it's a rare thing in sports today for a player. I mean, I shouldn't even say today. It's a rare thing in sports in general. Even like back in the day, we saw players who had a super long tenure with one team finish out like Joe Montana even had those, what was it? I think Kansas City Chiefs years or whatever.
Yeah.
Jerry Rice had the Oakland Raiders years. So it's not, it actually would be a rare thing for a top tier player like him to play his full career in one place.
Yeah. I mean, the names are so few and far between that they kind of stand out. It's, like Dirk and Kobe. Magic Johnson ever played for a different team? Larry Bird?
No. Larry Bird never did. I don't believe so. So, I mean, LeBron's played for like 8 teams now because he's always just chasing rings with other good players because he's a coward. He doesn't have that Mamba mentality. I'm just kidding.
Why are you taking shots at LeBron right now? Last thing here, I pulled up Pittsburgh's prospect pool. They are currently ranked 16th according to Scott Wheeler.
That's not terrible.
Their top prospects: William Horkoff. I turned his name into a nerd game. Currently ranked number 24 amongst prospects. Harrison Brunicki, currently ranked number 44, and of course, Rutger McGrody.
Yeah, I love me some Rutger McGrady.
So those
he
are
got traded to them because he didn't get drafted by Pittsburgh.
I don't know, man. Who knows? Who can remember that? Who can remember? Who fucking remembers anymore? Who can even remember any of this shit? Anyways, those are their top prospects. Do you see any potential Sidney Crosbys amongst the bunch?
Probably not.
Let's
see. Rutger McGrody was drafted by Winnipeg, round 1, pick 14.
What was that trade? What did Winnipeg trade Rutger McGrody for?
I don't know what that trade was. Yeah.
Well,
he was a Wolverine, University of Michigan.
I think he's still a Wolverine, as is William Horkoff. But anyways,
he loves the movie Red Dawn. That's true.
I don't think anyone who is currently playing in college or the AHL knows what Red Dawn is.
He got drafted in 2022, so he's definitely not eligible to play in college anymore.
Oh, good point. Well, you say that. We're all following the Sorsby story. But, Mike, we're not going to talk about Brendan Sorsby. We're going to talk about the NHL playoffs. And, Mike, we did a little gimmick here on the Basky podcast a couple weeks ago called The Laps Fan's Guide to the NBA Playoffs. And it was so successful, Mike. It was so successful at making your lesbian stepmom, wasn't a stepmom, it was your mother-in-law, your lesbian mother-in-law, believe that you actually knew ball and followed the league. So we're bringing it back. We're bringing it back for the NHL. And Mike, no one's lesbian mother-in-law is asking about the NHL. Obviously, your Serbian cousin, who is in town, is the only person asking. So we will only be asking questions and giving you information so that when your Serbian cousin is in town, you can make her think that you know puck and maybe have weird incestual relations. But Mike, listen, anyone listening to this, don't sleep with your Serbian cousin.
Yeah, especially not a first cousin.
Only sleep with your West Virginian cousin.
Yeah, make sure it's like second or third.
It's fine.
Twice removed.
Anyways, Mike, we're gonna do the Laps Fan's Guide to the Stanley Cup Playoff.
Yeah, there.
And we're gonna start with the Western Conference because we got to talk about this Vegas Golden Knights sweep of the Colorado Avalanche, which I was in person with Mike for Game 3, and he simply did not think it was remarkable that the Vegas Golden Knights were up 3-0 on the Avs. He did not think it was interesting.
Yeah. You were besides yourself.
The Avs were the favorite going in to the Cup Final or to the Cup Playoff. Vegas wasn't even a top 3 team in the West.
No,
and the Avs dismissed the number 2 and number 3 best teams in the West. Wait, just the number 3. Unless you consider the Kings to be the number 2. Did you think the Kings were the second best team in the West?
No, I think they were literally the 8th best team in the West.
But let's start here. You're at your Serbian cousins, shack. I don't know where they live. I don't know their life. In West Virginia. Can't get the cable to work, so you're just sitting there talking, and she asks, "Man, Vegas in the Cup Final again. How'd they get there?" What are you saying, Mike?
I mean, I'm telling her I don't think. I will be honest here because I was trolling you a little bit that night with my downplaying of it. I'm not shocked, taken aback, or surprised that Vegas beat Colorado. Now, I am somewhat shocked that they swept them. That is pretty crazy. But that they beat them, that's not shocking because this is an extremely talented roster. And in a lot of sports, I think more so in hockey than any other, when you have a talented roster like that, even in a regular season, like for Vegas, where it's like all year, we were like, dude, what's going on? This roster is so good. If they just get together, if they could just get solid goaltending, what is happening? When you have that much talent, your thought process, even when you're having a rough year, is like, let's just get in there. We just got to get in there. Because they got in there and they figured their game out, and now they're rolling. And obviously with Carter Hart, they've been getting, I would say, consistently good, and in some games great goaltending, which has been a big part. So it's not surprising for me because of the talent they have.
On defense, they're playing like reverse Carolina ball, which has helped Carter Hart a little bit. Like they're not allowing shit from the slot. Like I think the statistic was that in Game 1, the game that the Avs went up 3-0 and then lost 5-3, that the Avs in that game had 11 inner slot shots, and then in the rest of the series combined, they had 12 inner slot shots.
So I was actually I was going to point this out because where is it?
Feels like every team is kind of trying to do the Carolina thing where they're just like shot pressure on one end and just no high danger chances on the other.
Yeah, so that first game against Colorado, they gave up 16 high danger chances against, and then they adjusted, they figured it out, and for the next 3 games they only gave up 6.
Yeah, that I mean, their defensive change, and I get that when you play against Vegas, you're playing against some absolutely elite defensive forwards and some pretty good blue liners in terms of their defensive impact. I guess, who would you say their best defensive blue liner is? Still Theodore?
Yeah, probably Theodore and Noah Hannafin.
Yeah, you're a bigger Noah Hannafin guy than I am. Maybe Rasmus Anderson is like a defensive piece. But anyways, their adjustment they made and having those really good defensive forwards is that they can just like stick those guys into the middle of the ice and just shove people off. I mean, like Colorado, and we'll talk about them more in a second, people are going to keep blaming the injuries to Cale Makar and Nate McKinnon, which I totally get. Yeah. But like in games 2 and 3 before McKinnon was hurt, it's not like they were getting Landeskog open in the slot or McKinnon open in the slot and then someone just had to pass it to them on the stick and they could tip it in. Like they kind of just kept working around the outside and taking perimeter shots. I mean, they kind of looked like the 2018 Houston Rockets. Like everything was just threes. Or I guess the now twice eliminated because they can't hit shots Boston Celtics. And you know, we're seeing this a little bit with the series in the East as well, but like if you get enough shot pressure from the blue line and from outside of the face-off dots, eventually some of them are going to go in. But like Carter Hart doesn't even need to play well. Like who knows if Carter Hart's going to be a good goalie? I assume not, because he wasn't before he went to Vegas. But it's not like he's needed to play well for the series. He just needs to like be kind of in the right spot. And they're just directing shots to places where he can react and move in time. So yeah, he's been good to solid, but hey, he hasn't needed to be great, and that's somewhat important.
Yeah, because even in like those, like I said, like after in that game 1 where they gave up all these high danger chances, even in games 2 and 3 they put up like over 30 shots on goal. But like I mentioned, those high danger chances were super low, which is such a big thing.
So outside of that, Vegas has gone through the Mammoth and Anaheim, right? I didn't miss anyone there. Why did it feel like Anaheim was more of a stumbling block for them to Colorado? What is it that Anaheim did to this team that Colorado didn't?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. It's a weird thing because even go back before that, like the Utah series, you know, I would say like 4 games into that, you were kind of feeling like, oh, I think we might be headed to 6, and then Vegas won the next 2, or we might be headed to 7. Vegas won the next 2, it ends in 6. And like you said, they even stumbled some early on in that series against Anaheim, and you're like, oh, this series is probably going the distance, and then it ended in 6. So I mean, I think when you look similar to what we just pointed out, the way they adjusted between game 1 and the rest of the series against Colorado, they're figuring out teams they're playing. They're putting it together, and then they're getting out of there.
Yeah. So would you say coaching?
Yeah, I think like if we want to talk about the coaching, I do think Torts has made an impact. I mean, like I said it that night when you were flabbergasted at them being up 3-0. I was like, hey, like Torts, he took over. I know it wasn't for very long in the regular season. They went 7-0-1 in April, and that like wasn't just by happenstance. I think Bruce Cassidy clearly lost that locker room. Clearly lost it. And that affects players. They're not going to come in and play their best when they got issues with their coach. So they make the change to Torts, and Torts, to his credit, realized like, hey, this team's extremely experienced, very talented. They've been there. A lot of these guys went and won a Stanley Cup 3 years ago now. So I'm not going to step in here a lot and try to change what they do and how they cook. I'm going to let them do it, and I'm going to be there to kind of like, you know, here or there, be like, hey, maybe you should do this, hey, you know, and kind of guide them in certain directions, you know, when they need to be. And I think that was a huge thing. I mean, maybe Bruce Cassidy was being a little too hands-on and trying to do too much in what they were doing. And Torts' more laid-back approach from what he said has been a big difference to them.
Do you think it has anything to do with Bruce Cassidy's willingness to talk to the media? Do you think that's why the locker room turned against him?
That's what it is. Once Torts was took over and was like, nah, fuck the media. I ain't talking to him. That was a big difference.
I like how every time you do an impression of any person who's like against the media, it's always like a New York Italian guy. Like John Tortorella, I get it with his name, but like sometimes you're like,
he talks nothing like that.
No, he doesn't. Mike, for Vegas, once again, your Serbian cousin asking you, who you like watching on Vegas, what lines you like seeing, who your eyes are drawn to.
Well, I break this down into kind of like three categories with a couple guys. One, you look at the depth, right? Mm-hmm. And you're looking at like Coughlin and Hutton, like depth defensemen, are playing great. Like playing solid minutes, super low expected goals against, playing really well. And then you look at, obviously, they're strong two-way guys who, from a point standpoint, you're like not having a huge impact, but like Wild Bill Karlsson, Mark Stone, they're still playing like this great two-way game. Mm-hmm. And then you go up top and you look at like their studs, their stars are being stars, and Eichel and Marner, and racking up the points.
Yeah, you've been really on this Eichel beat in particular, who has not been performing on the score sheet. Like he's not exactly putting a lot of pucks in nets.
Right.
But that game 4, there was a play where Vegas broke into like an offensive rush, and Eichel gets the puck, shoots it around the outside after crossing the blue line. It wasn't just like a dump and chase. Shoots around the outside. I think it's Barbashev picks it up or something behind the net, and Eichel just puts hard the brakes on it and just completely shuts down the slot. Like no Av player was getting in the way to block anything in the slot. He was pushing people out. He just had his skates stuck in the sand. Like no one was moving him out. And I was just like, this is the shit that when people are like, you got to watch the games, you miss. And I'm a big stats guy. Like I think that as stats get better, we get to the point where you're not seeing the whole picture if you're just watching the game, because if you're just watching the game, you think that Noah Hannafin and Rasmus Andersson make a good pairing, and they don't. But when you're watching it, the Eichel impact, like Eichel impacts the game in so many ways. And it's kind of funny because he's on the Mark Stone team, but it's like there should be an award outside like the Selke for the forward who plays the most like Mark Stone, like the forward who tape heads love the most, because Eichel this playoffs has a 0% chance of winning the Conn Smythe. And I'm sure later when we talk about our Conn Smythe ballots that there's a chance one of us has him on there. But Eichel has 0% chance of winning Conn Smythe, especially because Mitch Marner, Pavel Dorofeyev, and Brett Howden are all putting up crazy numbers in the playoffs so far.
Yeah.
But Eichel just is doing everything. I mean, he's doing everything. And in a playoff where now we see Nikita Kucherov, Nate McKinnon, Connor McDavid all eliminated, Eichel kind of stands alone as like a 200-foot hockey guy, but also like the draft pedigree elite offensive guy who hasn't gotten cooking yet.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you look at Eichel, he's second in the playoffs to 18 points. 16 of those are assists. But as someone who obviously watched Eichel his old time in Buffalo and then even now like in Vegas, his ability to set up other players is so elite. And part of what does that is the way that he draws in defenders because he's so lethal. He draws in these defenders, and then this other person is completely open. Like, who is it? It's Dorofeyev who's on the line with him, right? In the top line?
Yeah, Barbashev and Dorofeyev with Eichel, typically.
Yeah, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would love to see, if I went back and looked at it, like how many of those 10 goals by Dorofeyev Eichel was the primary assist on.
Yeah, that'd be
probably a lot of them. Yeah.
You know, the nickname Wild Bill Karlsson is a great nickname because I can picture William Karlsson in my mind, but if someone calls him Wild Bill, I picture him with like
cowboy
a mullet and like with one eye that's like most of the way closed while the other one's really open. He's just looking around.
Yeah.
Like it changes my perception of him. It's like the guy who worked in the Lakers front office was Irving Johnson. The guy who was like throwing behind the back passes to old man Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, that's Magic Johnson. Like the nickname works because it changes who he is. Mike, outside of that, I think that we probably at some point in there name dropped all the people that you need to keep an eye on for Vegas. Mm-hmm. Marner, Stone, who's after coming back from a short stint injured, has been awesome.
Stone's such a consistently great player. Like, he just makes an impact in so many ways.
Barbashev, on the defensive pair, I think Theodore McNabb have been their best pair. That is Shea Theodore and Brendan McNabb. Mike's new favorite player, Brendan McNabb. Who,
former Sabre, but
he does.
I will stick up for him
because when he slashes and hacks and stabs someone, he shouldn't get called for it.
That was it a double? It was a 5-minute major, right?
It was a double minor. I think it was a 4-minute
double minor. Yeah, that was a fucking joke.
You see the McKinnon trip from last night, Mike? Talk about jokes. They didn't even call for the penalty in that play where McKinnon lost his skates and everyone was like, well, there was another guy in the area. So
yeah.
Mike, let's move over to the other side of the bracket. The now sitting at home for the second consecutive year when they were supposed to win the Cup Final, Colorado Avalanche.
Mm-hmm.
You're let's change up the scenery here a little bit. You are trapped in a school bus dangling off of a cliff. No one can move because if you move from the back of the school bus, it might tip, and there's no way off for the time being. And while you're killing time waiting for the crane to come in and save you, one of your schoolmates says, "Fuck, man, what happened to the Avs?" What's your response? Why are the Avs sitting at home right now?
I think I move our end to the front of the bus, take us down. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, obviously there's the injury standpoint. It's funny because you look at you think about the rest versus rust standpoint. It wasn't a big difference, but like Avs go 5 against Minnesota, and then Vegas goes 6 against Anaheim, but still they got a little more rest, and that rest in the end didn't really matter because even come game 1, there's no Cal McCarr. And then as the series goes on, come game 3, McKinnon gets banged up. So obviously injuries played a point in it. But throughout the series, what changed was Vegas's. They just kept learning. Like we said, they gave up all these good chances in game 1. And then game 2, game 3, they give up a lot of shots, but not as many good chances. And then in the elimination game, they just said, fuck you, and they shut them down. 21 shots on goal. There was a point where I think at the end of the second, they had 15, and then a few minutes into the third, they put up the stat that was like Colorado, no shots on goal in the last 8 minutes.
Yeah, it was like 8 minutes.
Yeah, and then you saw it like at the end, right, when Colorado's in desperation mode. Like prior to that, Vegas, they score a second goal, the insurance goal, they're up 2-0. And then late in the third. And then Colorado comes back and they score with a little under 2 minutes to go. You're thinking like, oh shit, Colorado might save their season and force a game 5. That last like minute 45, minute 40, whatever it was a clinic by Vegas. Because I think Colorado got into the offensive zone of Vegas once. And then once Vegas got it out, they played some amazing neutral zone defense and did not let Colorado back in there.
Yeah.
They were just like, we're not fucking doing this. So the way they shut them down in that game offensively was crazy.
Yeah, and a lot of people are going to mention the injuries. Obviously, you lose your 2 best players who are 2 of the top 5 players in the world. Cale McCarr misses a couple of games with an injury that when he came back from, he couldn't even shoot. Like, I think that this is regular season. I don't think it's insane to say McCarr would have been out like a month.
Yeah, I mean, and it was also because of that, it was crazy, especially in game 1. It was crazy to see not just offensively how much not having a car affected them, but it's just how like you looked at Colorado all year and you're like, man, they got like blue line depth. And it was crazy how once you removed McCarr from the situation, you were like, this blue line's a little shaky all of a sudden. What the fuck's going on?
Yeah, Devon Taves turns out not as good of a puck mover and passer.
Cannot run the power play at all like McCarr can.
Like McCarr couldn't shoot. Like his shoulder was basically just hanging there.
But I mean,
he's like the Hulk after he snaps in game.
Yeah, but I understand why they're like, can you go? Are you like at least good enough to go? And he was like, yeah, because even if it's like, in football, there'll be like a wide receiver who's like injured and he'll end up playing, and they're like, yeah, he's really just out there to be like a diversion. and make defenses account for him. It's kind of like that.
The only problem is then Nate MacKinnon goes down with a hip injury or a knee injury. It's hockey, so they're just like lower body. And if the media asks us any questions, it means they're violating HIPAA.
Yeah.
So we don't know. But it was a hip or knee injury or something like that. And it was kind of funny because, like, you know those really old Hollywood movies where they would have like two people like walking along like a sunset beach, but it was just like they were walking in place and there would be like a projection screen slowly moving in the background so it looked like they were moving. Audio podcast, Mike?
Oh, I said as in yeah.
Okay. It was like watching Nate MacKinnon skated like he was in that. Like he would be pumping his legs like he was Nate MacKinnon, but he was moving like he was, I don't know, Chris Letang. Like he just wasn't getting up to speed. And then he loses his edge on a break into the Vegas zone early on. I think that was maybe late in the first period. And after that, like he was even less the same guy. So you're down your elite skaters and you're down your elite goaltender because you don't have one. And that's what I want to talk about, Mike.
Yeah.
I think the Avs have been too high on their own supply since winning the Cup. And I think that's what we need to talk about more. Like everyone is going to blame the Makar and MacKinnon injuries, which I get. But you won with Darcy Kuemper, who is not a top goalie, but has proven to be competent in multiple places. I mean, he got the Kings to the playoffs again this year, and the Kings were not very good. But just every year, they go in to these playoffs with a collection of who the hell is that guys in net. And every year it feels like, since they won the Cup, that gets exposed at some point. And we are giving them way too much credit for the other shit going on, when also, like, Scott Wedgwood is not going to get you to the Stanley Cup Final unless you guys play elite constantly. Like, there is no margin for error. With a team with this good of a roster, there was no margin for error. Like, as soon as Marty Necas couldn't shoot the puck anymore, as soon as Brock Nelson wasn't scoring, as soon as the goaltending fell apart, they just had no chance. I mean, they got swept. Like, you could even say, well, they were down Makar and MacKinnon. But with this roster, if they had passable goaltending, they could have picked up a game off Vegas.
Yeah.
But the goaltending is so fucking bad, man. It's been bad for a while. It's been bad since that Kuemper season. And because they won with Kuemper, they learned the wrong lesson. Kuemper got hot. Kuemper was good in those playoffs. And that's enough. But that you can't just bet on that happening, even with an incredible defense in front of them. And then when Makar goes down, it's Scott Wedgwood on an island, just getting fucking goosed over and over again.
But like, I think a great way to explain the actual talent of the Colorado goaltending is that Scott Wedgwood in the regular season put up a 2.02 and a 0.921 in 45 games. Those stats are better than the actual Vezina finalists, but he was not a Vezina finalist.
That's pretty good.
And that says a lot about what people thought of the real talent of Wedgwood.
Yeah. Yeah. And even with Wedgwood playing very well in the regular season, like, you gotta do something a little bit more, man, than just bet on Scott Wedgwood and Mackenzie Blackwood when you have Cup aspirations. Like, as much as we want to talk shit about like Edmonton getting close and not grabbing the mantle, at least Edmonton made 2 Cup finals with their dog shit goaltending.
Right, that's true. That's fair.
And now McKinnon's on the wrong side of 30. I think Makar is 30. Their center spine is all the oldest men you've ever met. It's McKinnon, Kadri, Brock Nelson, and I almost said Nick Waugh. So, like, is your window coming shut? It sure seems to be the East's time to shine right now. So I wouldn't love getting through a whole playoff with subpar goaltending only to get immediately bodied by Montreal, Buffalo, potentially Ottawa or Carolina. And going into next season, what's the plan? What's the plan to not have this happen for a 5th consecutive year after winning the Cup?
I mean, I think, like, Wedgwood is he signed an extension, so he's got 1 more year with an AAV of 2.5. But I still, like, that's cheap. So I do think they probably look for another option to replace a Mackenzie Blackwood and see how it goes. What is that option? I don't know. I mean, I think if Bob, Sergei Bobrovsky, I should just clarify, he's 40. He's coming to the end of, I think, like probably the most expensive goalie contract in the league at $10 million a year.
Yeah.
If he decides to keep playing, I think there's going to be a lot of contenders who will want to get him on a cheaper deal because of his age and hope that he can have a great year at, when he's so old. So maybe that's a thing, but I don't know what else there is really for them.
This is, by the way, this year was the most games Scott Wedgwood has ever played by, it looks like 8 games, the most he ever played. Mm-hmm. And the year that he came within 8 of this amount, he played for 3 different teams in 1 year.
Yeah.
So, like, I get it. They're going to probably be able to write off this whole offseason and not make any changes because, hey, Cale Makar and Nate McKinnon got hurt and Brock Nelson couldn't put a puck in a net. And the defense figured out how to stop Marty Necas from making seam passes or whatever. But come on, guys. Come on, Joe Sakic and whoever else works there. I assume they have a GM. I would guess, somewhere.
McFarland, he's up for the GM of the Year award. I tell you what, Colorado, I'll go ahead and throw this out there. Since you need some goaltending help, I'll give you a UPL and a first for Marty Necas. Who says no? Come
on. Just for the sake of this being the podcast where people stuck on a bus can figure out how to talk to their friends about hockey, can you clarify who UPL is?
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Of the?
Buffalo Sabres.
There you go, buddy. Any more thoughts on the West Final? Or do you want to move over to the East?
Let's move over to the East.
We'll start here with talking about the current leading Carolina Hurricanes. Mike, the Hurricanes are up 2-1 after winning 2 straight overtime games, which means they actually should be down 3-0 because we all know that overtime's just luck in is meaningless.
Yeah, sure. And Kenny Atkinson would say, analytically speaking.
I sometimes when I have an idea early in the week and I know I'm not going to remember it, I write it down in my notes for my introduction for my podcast co-host. I have some Kenny Atkinson jokes for Tyler on Friday.
I'm good. Do you see he also threw out there, like, because of like the NBA playoff schedule, he's like, if we beat whoever they were playing, who were they playing again in the second round?
The Pistons?
The Pistons. No. Yeah, the Pistons. They were like, if we beat them in 6, we would have probably, been able to beat the Knicks, but we went to 7 and because of the schedule. These are thoughts you don't say out loud, Kenny.
Yeah.
Just stop. You're embarrassing yourself.
Like, how do you motivate your team during the offseason after that? You're like, all right, guys, we got to get out there and work. I know we should have won. Actually, you know what? We did win. Not on the score sheet, but we won. Anyways, we're going to be running drills all day. James Harden will be like, I'm not fucking running drills. Dude just said we should have won. We didn't do anything wrong. Run it back. Don't make Evan Mobley change his jersey number. It looks fine. But the Carolina Hurricanes, Mike, the fighting Rod Brindamores.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing with this team. We all know the style. We know the Hurricanes style. It used to be pucks in deep. It used to be dump and chase. Not so much anymore. They're on the rush chance. They're getting inner slot shots. They love their high danger chance one-timers. And the other end, prevent any kind of shot pressure. And they are doing that again successfully. But what we don't know, Mike, is the players. No one knows the players on the Carolina Hurricanes, much less the person trying to catch up on the NHL season right now. So, Mike, who are the players to watch on these Carolina Hurricanes?
It's so weird to the Hurricanes, very good hockey team. They might have one of the least sexiest rosters.
There has never been a team with more B pluses in NHL history and 0 A's.
Yeah, like Sebastian Aho, their top line center, supposed to be like one of their big dudes. He has 5 points in 11 games.
Yeah, like the Taylor Hall, Jackson Blake, Logan Stankoven line, who were dominating in the first 2 rounds. Those would be those are the highest production players, but is anyone wearing a Logan Stankoven or Taylor Hall jersey? Probably not.
No.
It's their second line, and they got super hot in the first 2 rounds.
It's weird. I think a big part of Carolina's success, does come from they've consistently throughout this Brindamore run where they have great regular seasons and come up short, have put together very good blue lines. Slavin, Chatfield, Keandre Miller, Sean Walker, that is a pretty damn good top 4. Even Gostabert and Nikishin is a pretty good third pair. So like their defensive pairings are very good, and I think that's a big part of what drives this team.
Mm-hmm.
They're just a very good. Like I said, like I always joke about how like Carolina is boring, and it's because they're like a very good, like well-rounded all-around team. They don't have like a McDavid or anything. They've been searching for it. They were hoping they were going to get like their big offensive stud in Gunsel. They traded for him, and he said, "I don't want to be here," and left. They traded for Rantanen, and he played like shit because he didn't want to be there, and they traded him. So they're still like searching for that. Like Seth Jarvis has not at all had a good playoff. Like that's someone they need to wake up and do better.
Do they?
But
do they need him to? They haven't needed him to so far.
They're up 2-1. They have a goaltender who's a sieve now, and he's facing a Montreal team with good shooters. Montreal team who basically like all playoffs have been like riding a PDO high of good goaltending and a high shooting percentage. So, like, yeah, they need some of these guys to wake up, or else it could bite them in the ass.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about Montreal in a second here, but there is a certain poetry to how they're Kenny Atkinsoning their way through this, or I should say maybe Carolina is, where it's like, well, the numbers all say, and I'm like, yeah, but you're still getting to overtime to win these games. Yeah. I think the players to watch right now, it's a lot of their blue line, right? Like I think Keandre Miller is having a very good series against Montreal in particular, and I think Jacob Slavin, who is probably their biggest name, right? Maybe. Would you say Jacob Slavin? Like by jersey sales, who do you think sells the most jerseys for Carolina?
I bet you there's probably, like, if you go to a Carolina game, you're probably going to see a crap load of Aho jerseys and a crap load of after that, it's probably like a shitload of like Jarvis and Slavin jerseys. You're right. Oh, no. Jordan Staal, the captain, been there a long time. There's probably
Jordan Stahl's like jerseys. A third liner, though.
He is. He's old, but he's their captain. He's been there a long time. There's probably still a lot of Staal jerseys in the crowd.
I pulled up a list of top selling jerseys in the NHL, and I don't know when this list is published, but I do not trust it because number 15 is Artemi Panarin, and it is a New York Rangers jersey. Number 14 is Henrik Lundqvist. Patrice Bergeron's on here. Tyler Seguin, Marc-Andre Fleury. I'm guessing this is an old
definitely
list.
Definitely an old list.
So, anyways, Mike. Now that we know the players on this team, and well, or we kind of do. I mean, should we stop for a second and just like once again to like the B+ nature of this team? Should we talk about like how like fucking Jordan Martinook and Nikola Ehlers are having series, guys that no one was talking about? I mean, even their fourth line, like once again, like it's all Bs, right? Mm-hmm. Like Carrier, Jankowski, and Robinson are having a great playoff, and once again, you're not seeing any of their jerseys.
Yeah. It's not like I said, it's not a sexy roster, it's not a sexy team.
No.
But they've
outside of the coach
continue to play Carolina hockey, and for the last two games it's worked. And similar to to Vegas, that first game Montreal got pucks on net and they got 12 high danger chances. The next two games, nowhere near as many pucks on net, and they got 7 followed by 4 the last game.
So since we're talking about it, let's talk about Montreal. And I want to start with this. Their goalie, Jakub Dubas, or
Dubes.
There you go. How much of their competitiveness against Carolina are you attributing to Dubes and his goaltending ability?
I am. I'm attributing a good amount to it. Because we've seen through the first two series that when Dobes is on, he's a massive difference maker. Buffalo cracked his code a couple games and lit him up, But the games where they couldn't crack that code, he goalied them and was a massive difference in the game.
Yeah. And now I feel like Carolina, like I know that there's some pushback because the stats make it look like Carolina should be blowing Montreal out of the water. And there's been some pushback that's like you're watching, does it feel like the ice is tilted one way or another? Like I mean, I don't even have the numbers in front of me, but I know at one point I was looking at, and Carolina leads in like shots, high danger shot attempts, shots on goal, PDO lost per shot attempt, and scoring chances, which are shots that hit the miss the net, hit the crossbar, or are on goal. Like they are just dominating in shot pressure, and people are like, well, Carolina still is able to break containment and get into the other zone. Or sorry, Montreal is still able to break containment and get to the other zone. But like every time Montreal gets in to their offensive zone, and they have like elite playmakers in Lane Hudson, Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield. But I feel like every time that they get into their offensive zone, it's like when you watch a team on the power play who doesn't want to do anything for fear of getting the puck cleared, where they're just like passing around the perimeter and passing around the perimeter and passing around the perimeter until trying to just get something in a high danger area until eventually, like, I don't know, fucking Philip Deneau just takes a wrister that bounces effortlessly off Freddie Anderson and in or something.
Yeah, among teams still remaining in the playoffs, because Minnesota's beating them in this one, but like they're leading the playoffs in PDO and they're leading the playoffs in shooting percentage.
And can you clarify for the people what PDO is?
PDO is basically your shooting percentage plus your save percentage. So, like in the regular season, a lot of times
like a luck stat.
Yeah, like in the regular season, more so in the regular season, I think it's like a dangerous thing because you see a team who's hot and they got the super high PDO, and you're like, oh, that's basically going to regress to the mean since 2016, and
it's a joke for just me.
Show a downtick. Now in the playoffs, where you just need to win 16 games to win a Stanley Cup, you can ride that PDO wave a lot farther. So that's kind of what Carolina's been getting help from that. And that's because they do have like this talent up top. I think what hurts not Carolina, Montreal.
I keep doing the same thing. It's all good.
Yeah, I think what hurts Montreal, and I noticed this in the Buffalo series, not to keep going back to it, but it's like a part of like the sample set, is that compared to like Buffalo, where one of Lindy Ruff's biggest strengths, especially this season that you saw, was his ability to get contributions through four lines and utilize his depth. Montreal doesn't have that depth. And so St. Louis has done a great coaching job getting production and winning games out of his top 1 to 2 defensive pairs, his top 6 to maybe sometimes his top 9. But once you get down into like the nitty gritty and the depth, they don't have it.
So just a couple of things there. Once again, just in case people are actually listening to this as their reintroduction into the hockey world heading into the Stanley Cup Final, just want to clarify, you mentioned Lindy Ruff, who is the coach of the Buffalo Sabres.
Oh, Sabres, sorry.
And you mentioned St. Louis, which is Martin St. Louis, the coach of the Montreal Canadiens.
Yes.
Yeah, like the Montreal thing. I mean, they also, there's so many teams in this playoff that play like 2025 Carolina Hurricanes hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Like Brady Tkachuk of the Ottawa Senators even said this on a podcast with his brother, where he said that they're trying to play like Carolina, which once again, in the mold of Kenny Atkinson, don't say that out loud. We can see that. You don't need to be out here saying like, we're trying to impersonate this team that's been doing this for 8 fucking years and is the best to ever do it at the dump and chase and shot advantage hockey.
And then not win a cup.
And not win a cup. But Ottawa and Montreal in particular were big on this like rush chance into a dump and chase into maintaining zone time offense. Yeah. And now like Carolina is kind of like staying one step ahead of the curve, because I feel like Carolina is playing much more on the rush. They're playing much more in the mold of trying to get shots in front of the net instead of just slapping pucks on net, because I think that style, the current Montreal style, where what they want to do is they want to shoot the puck as as soon as they see some daylight, they want to shoot the puck and fight for rebounds and things like that, which has not been happening in the playoffs for them, by the way. They have been a very low shot attempt team in the playoff. But I feel like now that they're a step behind the team that used to do that, they just aren't able to get what they want out of this. Like, I feel like you see Montreal dump the puck in and have some of their guys who aren't, Cole Caulfield, fight for the puck and then try to get it in front of the net and put pucks in the net. And it's just not working, right? And they're ending up with like fucking Lane Hudson with the puck near the blue line often. They're ending up with Carrier and Matheson with the puck near the blue line so often. And it's just like not converting to goals. And that's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, and I think the other thing that people are going to talk about with this series is that Carolina won 2 overtime games out of their 3 games so far. And the classic hockey adage is that overtime's a coin flip. Like, either team can win. It's just about what puck goes in. But like you were talking about earlier, Montreal is on such a PDO kick. They're on this luck kick where their shooting percentage is absurd in this series because Freddie Anderson has turned into a sieve. Like, they're shooting like 25% as a team.
Who called that, by the way? Who called that? Who said?
Yeah, I maybe had Freddie Anderson on a few too many of my Conn Smythe watches. But like, they're shooting like 25% as a team. And like, if you're getting caught up on hockey, team shooting percentage when a team is like elite is like 12.5%. Like, they're doubling like the prime Tampa Bay Lightning shooting percentage right now.
Yeah.
And that's not gonna hold up. Like, in across the first 3 games, they've averaged like 12.5 shots on goal and ended up with 7 goals, something like that. And that's just that cannot possibly continue. So you're using up your overtime luck every single shot you put on Freddie Anderson that somehow goes in.
And like, what's even more concerning to me, in a weird way, is like that shooting percentage is great and all, but you look at 2 of their big guns, like Slafkovsky and Caulfield. Yeah, they have 12 points in 17 games. That's not too bad. Slafkovsky has 6 goals and Caulfield has 5. And especially Caulfield, the most is like, dude, your job's to put the puck in the net, and 5 goals in 17 games is not going to cut it if we want to get through this series. And they're also both a -7, so which isn't good.
Slafkovsky
like that
got off to such a hot start in these playoffs, man. He had 3 goals in their first playoff game.
And here we are 17 games in, and Alex Newhook is still leading the team in goals at 7.
Well, they always said Alex Newhook is the Buffalo Sabre killer, so.
Like, bro, like, Caulfield, you are tied in goals with Josh Anderson.
That's not a real person.
Exactly.
You're thinking of Rasmus Anderson. He plays for the Vegas Golden Knights. So let's I'll just one more time, just a stick tap to Jakub Dubiš, who is having an unreal playoff where Carolina is just doing an excellent job of getting the puck where they want it and getting high danger chances, and Dubes is just shutting the door over and over again. But Mike, the other thing I want to talk about with this Montreal team, because I think that of the teams left, they're the arrow pointing up team, where the rest of these are either arrow pointing forward or, in the Colorado Avalanche, potentially arrow pointing down. Is this a Cinderella story, or is this the start of the Montreal era?
No, I mean, when you look at what they did last year and then this year, I think this is completely a thing. Montreal Canadiens fans should feel very good. Pardon me.
They don't know what we're saying because they
burped.
Don't speak English. They only speak French.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put it in French. And voulu le coucher avec toi.
Do I have to cut that?
Avre du fromage. So, like, I think that they have this top end talent. I think there's like definitely some moves to be made that would help them. But I definitely think this is the start of something.
So I will say their only notable UFA is Patrick Laine, who has been hurt all year,
and you're not going to re-sign him.
Their only notable RFA is Kirby Dach, who they will probably re-sign after arbitration.
Maybe. I don't even know if you re-sign Kirby Dach. keep it 100.
Yeah, I mean, you got enough guns to replace him, so it's not like a necessity. But I would guess he's an RFA. He'll probably get offer sheeted and stay. That's how it works in the NHL.
Probably.
But Mike, speaking of players that can move, I did want to play just a soft little game of can we move him with the Montreal Canadiens blue line. Now, Mike, for those of you who don't know at home, can we move him is a game we play around here where Mike of the Town Alone podcast has to guess a player's movement restrictions on his contract. His options are a no trade, a no move, or a modified no move / no trade.
Remind me, a no move is you can't trade.
Cannot be traded, sent to the minors, or waived without player approval.
Okay. So like if we rank like most stringent, it goes no move, no trade, modified no trade, correct?
Correct.
Gotcha.
With that, Mike, we're going to start the Montreal Blue Line edition of Can We Move Him with 32-year-old left shot defenseman Mikey Matheson.
I'm going to say it's probably like a modified no trade.
Going modified no trade. For extra points, do you want to guess how many teams?
16.
He is a full no move, Mike. A full no movement clause.
What?
Full no move for Mikey Matheson for the next 3 years. However, in 29-30, at his age 36 season, he will have a 14-team no trade.
Now, something to keep in mind here, as you know, like me playing like my GM in NHL, you can continually pester a player till he's eventually like, fine, I'll waive my no move.
Mike, the one other player I want to play this with is a favorite of yours, blue liner for the Montreal Canadiens, Noah Dobson, a right shot defenseman, 26 years old. That's
full no move. That's full no move, absolutely.
Noah Dobson has a modified no trade. Would you care to guess
how
many
does
teams?
Matheson have a full no move and Dobson has a modified no trade?
Because Mikey Matheson has the A. He is an assistant captain, whatever you want to say. And you can't move your A out the door, Mike.
He's an assistant. What is it? What is Dwight?
Assistant to the captain?
Yeah, or something like that, yeah.
And Mike, this is not part of the game, but I will tell you that the captain, Nick Suzuki, has a 10-team no trade. But I say all that to say, if they need to make a move, which I don't know if they do, but if they need to make a move, it's going to be hard to move out some of their players that you would want to move out for younger pieces.
And it's kind of funny because I think I haven't looked at like the numbers, the advanced analytics. I haven't hung out with Kenny Atkinson and looked at the analytics, but like I think like Carrier and Gilly might, like, from a defensive standpoint, might be their best pair this offseason or this playoffs. They played really good.
Yeah, I always shy away because I don't know how to say Gully's name.
I'm pretty sure it's Gully. It's not Guile. It's not like the Street Fighter character.
Not a Street Fighter character. Yeah. But since I don't know how to say his name, I usually shy away from it. Lane Hudson has been awesome. That's just
he's been good too.
A matter of fact. Lane Hudson has been good in basically every pair he's played in. He's Jackson Lacombe East.
Unlike Noah Dobson with his 1 point in 11 games.
Matty Shafes North.
Yeah.
Mike, any other notes on the East Final?
Nope.
All right, let's run down a couple teams here. Just teams that if you are picking hockey back up for the first time in a while, you might be saying, hey, where the fuck are these guys? They were the talk of the town. They were the walk of the cock. They were everyone's favorite hockey team just a year ago. Where are they now? So we'll start here, Mike. Why don't you tell the people, why is Tampa Bay not in this final? What the fuck happened with the Tampa Bay Lightning?
Vasi was up and down, and they struggled with getting some solid depth play. And also, they just got goalied, especially in Game 7. They just got absolutely goalied.
Which is a common theme here. They got eliminated in the first round of the series in 7 games against the Montreal Canadiens, including a 0-0 overtime game.
Yeah.
They got goalied. They got goalied hard.
Yeah, absolutely goalied.
By friend of the pod, Jacob Dubes.
Dubes.
Mike, two-time defending champions, the Florida Panthers. They must have lost in 7 in the last round, right?
No, they didn't make it. I think all the hockey they played late into the year caught up to them. So really going into the offseason, they're just thinking like get healthy, run it back, and then figure out what we're going to do at goalie.
How excited do you think Nick Suzuki was to win the Selke this year, knowing that next year Alexander Barkov's going to get it back just by sheer rate of the fact that he'll actually play hockey?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Mike. Yes or no? Does Florida get Brady Tkachuk?
Ooh.
Once again, for those of you who are lapsed fans of the sport, the reason I ask is because Brady Tkachuk's brother, Matthew Tkachuk, is a star player for the Florida Panthers, and Brady Tkachuk doesn't seem too happy with his time in Ottawa.
I think that's definitely a call that's going to be made and a conversation that's going to be had. My only question is if Florida is going to be willing to give up what they want. Because with where Ottawa is, they're not looking at picks and prospects. Okay? They're looking at we want players.
Is that Al Capone?
And yeah.
What's Al Capone doing in Ottawa?
We want NHL players because we don't want to go back to missing the playoffs. So
go back to missing the playoffs? Oh, they did make the playoffs. Just
they
make
the playoffs. Just forget that.
It's hard to remember because they got eliminated in 4 games with absolutely no impact on the series against Carolina in the first round.
They got pretty sick.
The one other thing, Mike, is do you think Florida will be back in the playoffs next year? Remembering that they have currently 0 goaltenders signed to their roster going into the offseason.
Yeah, I think they'll figure something out.
You don't think they'll just go out there with 0 goaltenders?
No, they'll figure something out, and I think Zito has proven to be a very good GM. So I think he'll figure something out. And if he wants to give us a call, we'll give you Devin Levi back. All you have to do is give us Sam Reinhart back.
That is Bill Zito, GM of the Florida Panthers. Mike, speaking of Devin Levi, the Buffalo Sabres, everyone's favorite Cinderella team going into these playoffs. What happened and where are they going?
Okay, first of all, up yours. They weren't a Cinderella team going into the playoffs. They were a Cinderella team in the beginning of December when they were dog shit, and then December 10th hit, and they just became one of the best teams in the NHL.
When do you Cinderella talk? I was calling them a Cinderella because they weren't in the playoffs last year, right?
Yeah, but I think they were a Cinderella when they went on that crazy run in December, and then when they kept up the consistently good play, they went into the playoffs as like, oh, this team could actually make a run.
Where's the end date? Give me the last game they were a Cinderella team.
Their last game before the Olympic break, because they won that break and then they came out and were still very, very good.
Okay, let's see here. So I want to categorize this real quick, okay? So the last game before the Olympic break was, were the Olympics in January? Or were they February? February. So the last game before the Olympic break was a 5-2 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah.
So they were a Cinderella story through then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then they come back and they win 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 straight.
Yeah.
So against on Wednesday, February 25th at the New Jersey Devils. At that point, they were no longer a Cinderella team.
They were no longer a Cinderella story, especially because during that 8-game win streak, we beat Tampa Bay twice and got back into the race to win the division, which we did.
Got it. Okay. Just needed to figure that out. Man, Colton Ellis did not play well, did he? Sorry, I'm getting distracted now.
How dare you disrespect? I have residence on Ellis Island, I believe.
You got to change your name if you're going there. Mike, Minnesota and Dallas were considered 2 of the best teams in the West. And after eliminating each other effectively, where are they headed going forward?
Well, I mean, Minnesota had some bad breaks with injuries.
Namely Joel Eriksson and who was the other one? Jared Spurgeon.
Yeah. So that was rough. I will say that I think they need like I say this a lot, but it's a big thing once you get to the playoffs, if you want to be an actual contender, is your depth, especially from a forward standpoint. They have some solid cap space at $13.1 million. However, they do have to lock down Quinn Hughes and Jared Spurgeon. And I don't know if they'll be able to lock them both down.
I think that Quinn Hughes probably resigns, right?
Yeah, Quinn Hughes is the priority this offseason.
Really? You think he's a priority?
Yeah. I think he's the most important guy to get locked down, and they may have to get creative with their cap space to fill out that roster and try to make it a little bit better. I mean, I think injuries made it tough, and I think Wallstat got pretty burned in that Colorado series. Yeah. I still believe in Wallstat. He's young. Goalies are weird, and I completely believe that going into next year, he's the starter, and they're going to put their faith in him.
How about Dallas? What are the Dallas Stars like going forward?
Dude, Dallas, it's just like this keeps happening. What are they Carolina West at this point?
No, because Carolina's about to make a Stanley Cup Final.
Doubt it.
Up 2-1 in a series they're winning all the analytics in and winning.
Still got my money on them Habs. My thing with Dallas is like, one, I don't know if Ottinger, the Otter, is really the answer anymore. And two, make a defensive move that's actually going to make a difference. And stop lying to yourself and saying we have this great defensive depth, 3 pairs deep. You don't. You barely have 2 pairs deep of good defensive depth. Just stop and make a move that actually makes a goddamn impact.
I gain so much personal joy over your hate of Thomas Harley.
I have hate for Thomas Hardy. It's just as you go down, it's like it's not.
I mean, you hate Tyler Meyer, but
Yeah, like Tyler Myers got traded down. They're like, oh, Tyler Myers. I could tell you, I watched the first half of his career in Buffalo. That wasn't it, brother.
I think that you only like Miro Heiskanen. If I had to tell or
I do
explain.
Like Heiskanen, and then I'm solid on Lindell, and then I always got time for Bushi, Ilya Lyubushkin. Always got time for Bushi. Hard-nosed defender.
All right, and final one here, Mike. 2-time Stanley Cup loser in a row. Have the best player on the planet, Edmonton Oilers. Where are the Edmonton Oilers, and where are they going next year?
It's a fucking disaster. They have holes on this roster. They got the best player in the world, along with another top 5. I guess if you want to be, I guess you could say top 10 at this point, with the way some other guys have jumped up. Top 10 player in the world in Leon Draisaitl. And both of them, based on their comments after this elimination in 6 games to the Anaheim Ducks, it sounds like they're at the point of fed up with the shit. What
was the cause in your head? Like if you could only assign the cause to one thing, like we were talking about earlier with the Avs, if you could only pick one thing to signal why their team fell apart, what was the cause of their early exit from the Stanley Cup playoff?
Egregious mismanagement in the front office. They have not made the moves to support this team and their best players for years. They haven't had a good goaltending situation since I think it was 2019 maybe was the last year of Mike Smith's career where he played good.
If you go back to us in 2019 and tell us Mike Smith is going to be the best goaltender this team has for the next 7 years, I think you and I would be aghast. The arc of the Baskey podcast, the arc of this podcast, our career arc has been directly tied to yelling about Edmonton goalies.
But even beyond that, they've failed to address depth issues. They've signed contracts that have aged poorly. They've made trades that didn't work out. They just haven't done the things. This team has literally, not even just with the McDavid and Draisaitl, you can go back beyond that to the last decade and a half. They've got gifted so many high draft picks and they haven't put it together. And it's they don't do their homework. They just stop. They drafted McDavid and Draisaitl and they were like, we're done. Stanley Cups out the ass. And they've not done their homework since then to put together a good team. And I know you're going to sit there. People out there are going to be like, well, they made 2 Stanley Cups in a row. Because McDavid and Draisaitl, they, in despite of their beyond poor front office decisions, made 2 Stanley Cups in a row.
I will just point out that Jake Wallman, regular season, 20 points. In the playoffs, he had 4 points. So 24 points on the season across 59 games. His on-ice expected goal percentage is 44%, and he is currently on a $7 million a year contract for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and he has a no-move clause for the next 4. So he's stuck there. Darnell Nurse also 9.25 for the next 4 with a no-move clause the entire way. Evan Bouchard, 10.5 a year. I'll defend that. He's a good player.
Yeah, very good running the power play. Great offensive defenseman. You're going to want one of those.
At 12.5 for 2 more years. Draisaitl signed until he's dead at 14. Besides that, Zach Hyman and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins are your only forwards making at least 5 a year.
Yeah. So they have 2 more years of McDavid? So till 2028?
2 more years of McDavid. Mm-hmm.
Okay. If he doesn't force his way out this year, it'll probably
They did line up with the Tristan Jarry contract, so those 2 guys can play the rest of their time in Edmonton together.
Like,
do you think...
Sorry, can I jump in 1 second?
Go ahead.
When I say, like, they made those Stanley Cup Finals despite not having the best roster, like, just to put an emphasis and exclamation point on that, 2024, they lose to the Panthers. Connor McDavid, despite losing, led the entire playoffs in scoring, set a new league record for assists in a postseason, and won the Conn Smythe. Something that only 6 players have done, the first player to do it at that point in 21 years since Jean-Sebastien Giguère, the goaltender for the Anaheim Mighty Ducks at the time.
So just to clarify, I think that you dropped one word there. He's the 6th player to ever win a Conn Smythe and not win the cup.
Yeah, sorry if I missaid that. Am I rambling?
Yeah, I think you just didn't say and lose.
Oh.
So, I don't know what this team is next year. I'm assuming their goaltending is still going to be bad because I don't know how you can trade Jarry out, and that's taking up $5 million of cap space.
Too much money to Bob.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they have $14 million in cap space. You think $8 million for a year to Bob?
Yeah, something stupid, and he's going to be, 40 going on 41, and he's going to fall apart, and they're going to be in the same situation they're always in.
They are still, by the way, paying out Jack Campbell's buyout for the next 4 years.
Also, they haven't done a good job at coaching between Woodcroft and Knobloch. Like, both those guys lost the plot so hard in their coaching. Their coaching is like, just like their front office, the coaching is like, I got McDavid and Draisaitl. And they don't address anything else in how they play.
Well, they might bring in Bruce Cassidy if they ever get to interview him.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Mike, is there any other teams that we need to catch people up on? Anything that I missed here?
I think that's it.
Let's see. Just running through, thinking about anything. Utah, star pointing up very slightly. It's like Utah right now. If you want to get caught up on Utah, they're the most recent addition to the NHL by way of the Arizona Coyotes moving to Utah. It's like right now their stars pointing in the direction of like when you're a kid and you first want to go off a ramp on a scooter. And so you get like the ramp the least amount of the ground off as possible. Yeah. That's where their stars pointing right now. It's not their fault. They're in a hard division, but also like they don't have the juice at the moment. Anaheim, who made a good run into the cup. What? Give me like out of 10. How much are you betting on an Anaheim improvement next year?
That is TBD because I got to see what they do in the offseason. Their goaltending's questionable, and they were big-time loser point and shootout merchants. Yeah,
I think they ended up like a minus 57 in in plus minus.
They were winning every game. They were winning games 5-3, or they were losing. That was basically the.
Then just like a mess of teams in the middle in the East, if you had to pick one of Detroit, Columbus, the Islanders, and Ottawa, who would you bet on being the best team next season?
The Islanders. That's what they're building over there.
You are so Matty Shafes-pilled.
You were Matty Shafes-pilled before I was, but
I've seen the light. There. I've seen the Jackson Lacombe light.
No, they're building something there, and they, with a mix of young players, good veteran depth, and they got the goaltender still to do it. I have zero faith in the Yzer plan at this point in life.
All right, Mike, I think that about covers it for anyone who's getting back in. If you missed any names there, leave a comment below with your best phonetic pronunciation of the name we missed, and I'll have Mike personally come and write 200 words per player or coach missed that we need to explain further. With that, Mike, we got a couple more things to check off the box here. First off, let's get into our Wednesday night pre-actions as we record this podcast in the mid-afternoon, usually release it the next day afterwards. So for those of you who watched Carolina-Montreal, Game 4, we wanted to make sure you had some kind of reaction out of us. They are playing in Montreal at the Bell Center. Mike, give me your pre-action to this game.
I called him out earlier, so I'm gonna bet on him to respond to my criticism that Montreal evens the series up after Caulfield scores twice.
And I am personally just not surprised at all that this game ended 3-2 in overtime with a Carolina win.
That would track.
Mike, the one other thing we have to do here is we're doing our Conn Smythe watch, which is where every week on this show we update you with our current Conn Smythe top 3 on our ballot. Now, the one rule, and the one rule only, is that this has to be a player who you are currently voting based on the production so far without projecting forward. That way we eliminate us just saying Nate McKinnon every single day until today. In which case we would no longer say Nate McKinnon. So, Mike, who is currently your top 3 on your Conn Smythe ballot?
Mitch Marner, obviously, still leading the playoffs in points. That's pretty chalk. Just to shake it up, I won't go Marner, Eichel, who are 1 and 2 in points leading. I once again go with my boy Nick Suzuki. He had 3 points in game 1 and has been pointless in the next 2, so he's got to wake his ass up. I think he will. But he's still 3rd in points and is phenomenal. He's a very good 2-way player. So I'm going to go Nick Suzuki. And then lastly, as disgusting or icky feeling as it may be for many, Carter Hart's just been a massive part of this Vegas Golden Knights run to the Cup Final. And literally everybody in front of him, with the exception of Freddie Anderson, and his numbers are plummeting by the day. Everybody else in front of him in like GAA and GAA are eliminated, and then he has moved up to 3rd in GAA with the 2 guys ahead of him save percentage with the 2 guys ahead of him already eliminated at a .924. He's in the conversation now. Sorry.
I'm gonna go one for the people and 2 for my heart. First off, for the people, Pavel Dorofeyev. We know you fuckers are just going to vote off whoever has the most goals in the playoff. Don't pretend otherwise. I know how this works.
Yeah.
So you could either go Pavel Dorofeyev or Brett fucking Howden. They each have 10. Second, for me, Jacob Dubas.
Dubes.
Listen, this guy is giving up the most expected goals in the playoff and yet has the highest goal saved above expected. Because Montreal has played so many games and has allowed so many shots, and one of the major reasons that Montreal has been able to get these last 2 games to overtime is because they got the iron wall of Jakob standing behind them. And number 3, kind of a combination for me and for the people, Logan Stankoven. Very, very quiet series against Montreal, but in the 8 predecessor games in the first 2 rounds of the playoff, he was just driving that Blake Stank and Hall line, scoring goals, doing well. And if Carolina wins it all, someone on the team's got to win it, even though none of the people on the team are going to sell a jersey. Do you think there's more active NHL player jerseys at a Carolina game or Rod Brind'Amour jerseys?
Ooh. Active. What was the first one? I'm sorry. Stank?
Active NHL players.
Oh, that dude. Brind'Amour probably has so many jerseys there.
Yeah.
I bet you there's still a lot of Eric Stahl jerseys too. They were the big dudes when they won the Cup.
And now they have the new versions of Rod Brind'Amour and Eric Stahl with Jordan Stahl and Jacob Slavin.
Sebastian, I don't know.
Yeah. That's all I got, Mike. Any more news or notes that we need to talk about?
No, just that, and I'm sure he's going to have 6 points in it after I say this. Aho is a poster child for that's a really good player. I'm not a great player.
That's the whole Carolina Hurricanes.
Oh, to your point. Fair.
All right, Mike, you got any plugs on the way out the door there?
Just follow me on the socials in the show notes, and working on some stuff. Hoping to have over the next month. Hoping to have a busy June on the written work feed. We'll see what happens though, because I'm the most reliable source when it comes to actually doing what I say.
Yeah, you get, like Mike said, our socials are in the show notes below. We stream at least once a week, but usually twice a week. That is also in the show notes if you want to check out our streams. They're on a different channel than this one. If you listen to the audio version of this podcast, first off, thank you. Be sure you follow us on Spotify. And if you feel like checking out the video version of this podcast, which is a lot like the audio version, but it helps with your ADHD brain because I cut a lot back and forth between face cams, check out us on youtube.com/TalentAlonePodcast. Mike, you put your hand up for a second there.
So I have one more thing I wanted to say. I thought of this earlier, and I'm going to stick to this one, is that I might do it for the remaining games in this conference final series, but 100% for sure in the Stanley Cup Finals at the end of every game, I'm going to take out the old iPhone, I'm going to put it in selfie mode, and I'm going to record a quick little reaction for us to put up on our YouTube shorts, which our YouTube shorts are the best in the game, they say. So check that out.
There you go. You can email us at townalonepodcast@gmail.com. Bet over under 4.5 games that Mike will remember to do this reaction afterwards. You can check out our podcast on Friday where we talk more about basketball. And we also have, like Mike said, written work on townalone.com. In our year-long prediction contest for professional wrestling pay-per-views, last week we did AEW Double or Nothing, in which Mike went 9-0. Swept it. Whole thing. Pulled a New York Knicks. Didn't lose a one. He's doing the LeBron James right now, which is funny because LeBron James lost a bunch. But Mike went undefeated in it, and we are now going into our pay-per-view next week, which is The Clash in Italy, also known as the Roman Empire. And Mike, since we don't do shout-outs at the end of the basketball podcast, would you care to guess how long Max Domi is out after surgery complications?
Is this like a month to month or what? Like that kind of designation, or like a specific?
Like that kind of designation. I mean, unless you want to put down an exact date, and then we can come back and see if you're right.
What was the injury again? One more time.
He had an off-season injury or off-season surgery that we're not sure about, and there was complications during the surgery.
I'm definitely gonna say month to month. He won't be ready come start next season.
Says indefinite, so you were going to lose no matter what.
Jesus.
We don't know.
Then again, indefinite could mean like a week from now they're like, actually he's good.
Yeah. It would be funny if it just said out a definite amount of time but didn't provide the timetable. All right, Mike, with that, let's get out of here.